This is West of Everest, our first post-game podcast of the 2025 season. OU beats Illinois State 35-3 Saturday night on Owen Field. We're here to talk all about it. Lee Benson, joined by Grant Benson, and we record from Grant's place here in Minneapolis. We've been doing this now the last, 3 or 4 years, where I travel to Minnesota for the Labor Day weekend. We watch the OU game and then talk about it afterwards. That's why this setup looks different than our first video episode that we released earlier this week. Interesting game, and we're here to talk about it. But first, before we get into it, I'll just say hello to Grant. Grant, hello.
Hello, Lee. Thank you. Welcoming everybody into my kitchen. If you see my cats in the background, it's okay. They're just silly little guys, and we're just going to roll with it. So appreciate everybody hanging with us. But I think first and foremost, I'm happy that the football season is back. It's been a fun day watching football. We went out to a bar earlier. We were able to watch the first half of Ohio State and Texas, and then, of course, Alabama, Florida State was pretty fun earlier today. And then, so I'm trying to kind of keep perspective of everything. I'm happy OU football is back. It's always good to just sort of have that feeling. I know you've kind of had a buzz about you all day that you're just really excited. You're like, I don't, because you used to work in the media and you've been commenting the last couple of years. It's like, it's really nice that I don't have to work today. I can just watch football. And so I think that's a great way to sort of like start us off here, because it's great. And there's a great LSU Clemson game going on right now, low scoring. It seems like the atmosphere is great there. And so, a super, super interesting game. I don't think it really went how anybody expected it to go. Lots to talk about. I think there was definitely some good stuff. There was some puzzling stuff for sure that we're going to get into. But I guess I will. I'll kick it off by saying I appreciate Oklahoma for doing something that gives us something to talk about, because it could have been one of those games where it's just like everything looked great. Let's just see what happens next week, and that was not the case at all today.
No, yeah, it's we went and watched the first part. You mentioned it, the Ohio State Texas game, and I grabbed you on your shoulders and said, "Man, this is great. College football is back," and you said, "Don't touch me," and that's fair.
That's actually what happened.
Yeah.
That is what happened.
Yeah.
Correct.
But yes, I'm excited. I'm happy Oklahoma's 1-0. But yeah, there's lots to talk about after that game. So here's the way I want to do it. I figure, and you've done this as well. Before we started recording, we kind of put down our list. At least I know I did. Maybe your list is a little bit different, but I thought, you know what? Let's make this easy. I'll make a list of things I liked about the game and things I disliked about the game. And hey, let's start with all the fun, positive stuff. At least we'll start with that and see if it makes sense to move on to dislikes faster. But so we'll go back and forth, and I'm sure a lot of our likes and dislikes are probably the same. So I'll start. Number one like that came to mind. First of all, I guess we might as well mention it. John Mateer, he did break Baker Mayfield's record for most passing yards in an OU debut. He had 392 through the air, so Mateer had a very good game, almost throwing for 400 yards. So that's great, and that's my first like, is the passing game. The passing game is competent, and it showed evidence that it can be explosive. I know that was one of the things that you were looking for going into this game. There were 7 explosive plays that I counted throughout the game, 5 in the first half, only 2 in the second half. That's not great. And again, Mateer threw for 400 yards. So that's where I will start. I will start generally with the passing game. I like that coming off of last year's game against Temple, where we were both like, this passing game, the whole offense is not good. At least the passing game tonight with John Mateer definitely looked competent and showed signs of being explosive.
I agree. I think that's actually the number one positive takeaway from this game is, and of course we're going to be comparing a lot of this stuff to how it looked last season. And I think in terms of completing forward passes to your own team, it was night and day. I thought John Mateer looked, for the most part, pretty good. He did throw that one bad pick, missed a couple, like a throw or two. But when you're 30 of 37, I mean, that's I think that's over 80%. You're definitely cooking with gas there. I thought he very obviously looks comfortable within that offense, especially in the passing concepts. And there's obviously some things that you can clean up there. I mean, they only scored 35 points, and they scored their last touchdown of the game pretty deep into the fourth quarter. Way too inconsistent in that regard at times. But you can watch what they did in the passing game today, and it's very easy to envision that, hey, they're allowed to get better. They can build on a lot of that stuff. And there's probably a lot of people who haven't watched as much John Mateer as we have, And I thought today was a pretty good little appetizer to some of the arm talent that he has. Man, there's some when he is like when his mechanics are good and he can sit and fire, that ball jumps out of his hand. It really does. And I don't think we didn't see as much of sort of the weird arm angles as we saw a lot last year, and I'm sure those are coming this year. But I was definitely encouraged by his ability to just kind of sit back there, find open guys, especially downfield. Thinking of a couple to Keontez Lewis that I really, really liked. And so I was very happy with all of that stuff.
So another like I have, speaking of Keontez Lewis, I'll just transition. That's my next like. Keontez Lewis was a pleasant surprise. 9 catches, 119 yards, had a couple of touchdowns. He seemed sure-handed. That's how I'll describe him. Some explosives. That was nice. His 2 touchdowns were explosive plays. I do have one nitpick for Keontez Lewis. It seemed like a couple of those catches he couldn't keep his feet. That maybe if he, I don't know if the ball would have been better if he could have kept his feet, or if he just the way he caught it, he went down and maybe left some yards on the field. But that is a nitpick. Overall, an excellent night for Keontez Lewis, and seemed to be the stats back it up that he was John Mateer's favorite target in the game with the most catches. So Keontez Lewis, that was a nice pleasant surprise to see him have such a nice game.
I thought he had a delightful game. It was surprisingly delightful, and I thought he was terrific tonight. That guy's legit. I mean, he is a legit power 4 receiver. I don't think that you can have a game like that and that not be the case. So, very happy with Keontez Lewis. I don't think, if you would have had me guess who was going to lead this team in receiving, he would have been kind of near the bottom of the list. I figured he would be a big part of this team this year, but I figured he'd be a pretty consistent 3 catch for 41 yards guy. Like that would be sort of like his line and everything. But no, he became the clear go-to guy. He was the guy who was getting open. And so that was good to see with him. And I hope he can build on it for sure. But that kind of leads me, I'll go to the next like there, and we're going to keep just with the receiving core, unless you have more on Keontez Lewis. But
nope.
I want to single out Deion Burks because I do think he was overshadowed by Keontez. But Lee, that was the best that Deion Burks has looked in an OU uniform. I don't even think that's remotely controversial to say. He had one terrific one-handed catch on the sideline. He had the touchdown over the middle of the field where I thought he genuinely looked explosive and spry, breaking away from the defender. And so that was all very good to see. That was encouraging for me because we did see that that 3 touchdown game that he had last year, and he wasn't particularly explosive in that game. I don't know if we really saw the juice that he had. This was the first time where that juice was on display for sure. Are you trying to pull up his touchdown here?
I'm trying to pull it up. I had it pulled up, but it's not cooperating. Oh man,
that's too bad.
So slick too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We'll have to workshop that. We're all on the same Wi-Fi network. That's not going to work very well right now. I don't think.
Okay. Well, let's see if it works here. I think it's this next play coming up here.
Well, they got the Jaron Kanik thing. Do you want it? Because Kanik is going to be on my good list as well. So there it is. Yeah. Boom.
Are you seeing this? I mean, it's probably
I see it. Yeah,
for you,
I see it. No, it looks good. It looks good.
So yeah,
that was
I
good.
agree. That's the best he's looked.
Here it is. And you can see the separation he gets here. Yeah, there. And that's one of the things where I'm glad that we saw the behind the end zone view on that one, because it actually shows that it was a little bit tighter of a window than it looked like on the and not that Burks wasn't open or anything like that. But that's not a super easy throw. Like, for instance, that's not a throw I don't think Rittenhouse could have made for who did they just play? For Illinois State.
Illinois State, yeah. Yeah, Deion Burks, he looked better. We talked. I liked his touchdown. We just talked about it. This I just pulled up. I mean, we're right after the game, so unfortunately, this game was on ESPN Plus or the SEC Plus. So, in a perfect world, we'd be able to pull up the full game, and even though it just ended, we could maybe show some plays. I did want to show. They gave him the ball. He had a 12-yard run on an end around. And, I mean, he got 12 yards, got the first down. I thought he could have gotten more on the play. I thought he could have cut inside. But, that's a nitpick. Overall, there's something to build on, I think, with Deion Burks and John Mateer. And also that catch along the sidelines in the first half, it counted. I I was kind of like waiting for a better replay to see if he really did get his feet in, but they didn't really show one, and Oklahoma snapped the ball fast, so it counted. So it was a catch. So I thought that was a nice acrobatic one-handed catch. So nice start for Deion Burks and something to build on for sure.
You can go to the next one. Let's stay with the wide receivers because I just wanted to be really quick with this one because this is one that we talked about a lot as the game went on. Isaiah Sategna was quiet in the pass game. I think he only had a catch or two. He did have one catch where I thought he looked really good. But man, and this is me saying that he's got the juice is going to be a consistent theme of this podcast. We're going to bring it up later on when we talk about the bads as well. In the return game, a lot of juice. He is going to be he is going to be a major upgrade over anything that they've had in the punt return game in a long time. He knows what he's doing back there.
Yeah, and I was gonna. And it works. I mean, I had him in special teams, but yeah, Sategna was great. I mean, he was great returning punts. I mean, he averaged nearly 16 yards per attempt, which is really good. He had a long of 21.
Whenever you're returning punts, it's just good to get positive yards. I mean, you get anything out of it. That's great. You're talking about 16 yards a pop. You're just like, I mean, that's a massive field position swing. So that's one of those things that the benefits of that didn't necessarily show up in this game, but next week against a Michigan team, that's going to be a much more bloody knockout, drag-out game. I mean that something like that could be the difference in a big spot. So I like Sategna. I think those top three guys that we saw, and we still haven't seen Giovanni Gibson, who I call it intuition and call it a vibe. I still think is going to be the best receiver on this team when he comes back. I thought the three top guys that we saw today is the pass catchers. I think all of those guys you got something there. That's not a bad trio at all. And it makes it even better that the guy that you would probably say going into this game is the comfortable third behind him was the best of the bunch in this. And so I think they got stuff to build on there for sure. And I'm excited for that. And it wasn't just those three guys, Lee. I have to. Moving on now, Jaren Kanak, and I know he fumbled on the second drive of the game, and it was like is a soft fumble, real soft fumble. I thought Jaren Kanak looked terrific. I thought he looked great. He exceeded any expectation that I had for him going into this game.
Yeah, I'm trying to show the highlight of his long explosive catch.
And that was the long. And look at, I mean, he had that nice like just get off me shove of the guy, and he can run. He can really run. Like he's a weapon there. And so I don't think
I thought it would.
I don't think we got a good enough look of Bauer Sharp last year with just how dysfunctional the offense was. And he's been kind of watching a bit of the LSU Clemson game. He looks like Bauer Sharp, to be honest with you. Mm. But I thought what we saw from Kanak today overshadows anything we saw from the tight end position a season ago. Like just in one game already, he was more impressive than any tight end looked in any game a season ago, I believe.
Yeah, as we go on this season, we're going to hopefully be a little more smooth with showing video in here and there. Again, I think, being on the same internet is making this slower. Anyways, Kanak, 5 catches, 90 yards. My big takeaway from that, I mean, he looked good. I'm curious to see how he's used the rest of the season. Is tonight a flash in the pan, or can we expect him to be this involved in the offense throughout? Because we talked about it on our last show. I mean, the way they utilized Cooper Mathers last year was kind of the way we figured they'd utilize Jaren Kanak. And I'd have to look back. I mean, we talked about it. Mathers only had 13 catches all last season for Washington State. Kanak with 5 tonight. I mean, he's well on pace to obviously. He has 5 per game. That's a ton of catches for a tight end. So
5 catches for 90 yards. 90 yards in this game. And so they used Kanak like Lincoln Riley would have used Mark Andrews. They threw him the ball down the field, which I did not see that coming. I thought he was going to be a, like RPO split zone guy and the flat guy, which I thought that's a role that would work for him really well. But him being able to catch the ball down the seam is not something I anticipated whatsoever. And if that's something that they have in their toolkit, okay, I like forward passes completed down the seam to the tight end / H-back. That's great.
I do too. And okay, I'm gonna attempt it again. I'm gonna attempt to share my screen again because we're gonna move on to the next like for me, and that is Torrey Blaylock. And Torrey Blaylock was the best running back for the Sooners before his injury. And honestly, as we were looking for post game, am I sharing the screen? Are you seeing this?
I can see it. We're good.
All right. Well, we'll see if it actually plays.
Nah,
geez,
it's
come
going slow,
on, man.
Yeah, I think we should put this in our bag. We need to cut this.
All right, we'll stop. Because once I stop sharing it, it starts to work again. So clearly, it's an internet thing. I was trying to show the screen pass, or not screen pass, but the swing pass that he took on third down and long in the first half and picked up the first down. And I believe he'd capped that drive. I think that was a drive that he might have capped with a touchdown. So
and hat tip to Ivan Carrion on that play for a good block as well. That I think kind of sprung the first down.
So Blaylock, 8 carries for 44 yards. Did have a touchdown, averaged 5.5 yards per carry. He was the best running back of the day for Oklahoma. And again, now that I'm thinking about it, I realize I hadn't looked to see if there's any sort of updates on his injury, because he exited the game in the first half, and it looked like he took a hard hit to one of his shoulders. And I guess the hope is that it's not too serious. The downside, though, the worst case scenario would be some sort of maybe shoulder separation injury. I mean, Gentry Williams has been a guy that's had a bunch of shoulder problems before. Hopefully, Torrey Blaylock is fine.
Yeah, and he was the last of my goods on offense. I thought I do think it's hard to gauge a little bit just because of the competition. And say this Illinois State's not a good team. I understand where they're ranked in the FCS. That's not a very talented football team at all. But I did think that Blaylock clearly looked the best of all of the running backs who got carries. He was the only one where, and we'll get into it. I thought the offensive line was a sieve for the most part in the run game, but they looked like way less of a sieve when he was in there. And so why is that the case? Who knows? We'll rewatch the game this week, and maybe we'll have kind of a better idea of that. But I think you have to be encouraged by what you saw from him. But at the same time, I wasn't like wowed, like, oh my God, this guy is like an all-conference SEC guy in the future. That's not necessarily how I felt, but I thought he looked good.
Well, I've just kind of going through. I'm trying to see if I can find some sort of injury update. And let's see. I know that, I need post-game stuff, so I'm not finding it right now. Maybe as the pod goes on.
Honestly, man, we're not. It's an injury to an OU football player. There's going to be a lot of mystery surrounding it.
Okay, fair enough. And that was the last like I had as well on the offense for now. Defensively, stick with the positive stuff. Stick with the likes. On defense, I'd say I'll start with this. Overall, Illinois State's offense only averaged 3.3 yards per play. Only scored a field goal. The only reason they kicked the field goal is because of John Mateer's interception. That set Illinois State up. If it wasn't for that, Oklahoma's defense would have pitched another shutout. And so overall, the stats were great. I think they only allowed like 150 total yards, which is terrific. FCS team, FBS team, that's really good. So I'd say overall the numbers look good. But when it comes to like individual stuff, honestly, Grant, and I'll go through this after I throw it over to you, but I have like a handful of players that I remember certain tackles or plays, but other than that, I don't have a whole lot to say about the defense. Do you?
Yeah, I think if you're going to look at numbers, 1.7 yards per pass given up is that's outstanding no matter what. And I was kind of we had sort of clocked Sobkowitz, their receiver, as a guy that to kind of look out for. He had a poor game. He didn't look like he had much, if anything at all. But neither of the quarterbacks they threw in there, they didn't have a prayer throwing the ball at all in this game, and so that's great. We talk about all the time how important it is to be able to be a really, really good defense in college football. You got to stop the pass. That's what you have to stop, and they were ahead of that curve today, so I'm happy about that. I do want to the one player I want to single out the most because I think it's the most important thing that we saw, and I think this is by far the best thing about the defense in this game. Gentry Williams looked like Gentry Williams. And it's one game, and you never know how that shoulder is going to hold up. But that was the guy that we saw, at least in like the 2 or 3 opportunities he had to make a play where the ball came his way. That was the guy in the first half of 2023. That was him. And so that makes me that gives me the warm and fuzzies inside. That makes me really happy.
Yeah, I remember there's one play that stands out, and that was I think in the first quarter, where he got in on a tackle early. I think it was like a a pass kind of out to the boundary, and he came out. I think he might have gotten a TFL.
It was.
It was near the line.
Sobkowitz should have dropped it, but
Oh yeah,
he should have.
That's right.
But yeah, Gentry came in, closed really quickly, and Sobkowitz went down. He's down. He was done. And that was one of the underrated things about Gentry when he was healthy is guy can tackle, and that's typically not it's when a corner can tackle, to me that's just gravy because I want you to be able to just to cover guys. That's really all I care about. But I know Gentry is able to do that, and so that was good to see. And it seemed like he had a lot of energy. He looked healthy, and so if that can continue, that's going to be a huge boon for the defense. And we'll get into some of the more negative stuff because I think they're going to need Gentry Williams to stay healthy this year. Like holy crap, they're going to need that big time. They need him desperately.
Yeah, he looked healthy, and as long as he's healthy and he's playing a snap out there, then that's a win every time as far as I'm concerned. And, good to have him back. And speaking of Sobkowitz, I'm glad you brought him up because you're right. I mean, that was the one guy that I was like, man, this guy looks like a pretty good player. He had a drop early in the game. And looking at his stat line, 2 catches, -3 yards. I mean, that's great. I mean, he's their best player.
Per the broadcast, he had teams willing to pay him millions of dollars in the portal to leave Illinois State. No, they weren't. No, they were not. He would not be at Illinois State anymore if that was the case. I'm positive that's what he said.
That's what they said?
Positive.
That's funny.
So, other than that, I was going to say, well, let me I thought Reggie Powers was a guy who stood out to me. There's a couple of times where he had an opportunity to make a play on the ball, and he did. I'm thinking of one in particular where he was just in zone coverage, and I thought he triggered really nicely, and he came up and he made a tackle for no gain, put the guy on the ground right away. And then other than that, the other guy that I thought kind of stood out to me was Taylor Wine. I thought he had the best day of anybody on the defensive line. He has a good motor. And I know that like there was the Ethan Downs sort of comparisons to him. I didn't think he really looked like Ethan Downs. I thought he looked like someone totally different. And so I thought he was definitely he was rewarded with that sack for sure because with his high motor. But I thought he was the guy who kind of was the most active on the defensive line. On the defense, that's right. Yeah, it's a weird thing just because of, man, only 151 yards allowed, and if it wasn't for just that turnover deep in territory, I mean, they would have pitched a shutout relatively easily. But it still felt like, sort of a performance that wasn't wholly satisfying, and we'll get to that point. But I thought, any time that you can outgain the team you're playing by like 350 yards and win by 32 points. I mean, that's a game that you absolutely dominated. And I don't think I'm not going to come on here and say that, you didn't dominate that game. They clearly did. But we came on this podcast on Wednesday and we were telling you that Illinois State's a bad team. They're not good. And I think that's what we saw in this game for sure. There was some things that they just were not capable of doing.
Yeah, I'll clean up the rest of the defense. Reggie Powers, I agree that the play that you described. I mean, he did a great job of driving on the ball and making a nice stick, a nice form tackle there. And then yes, Taylor Wine. I mean, he got that sack, and he knocked out the Illinois State starting quarterback. I mean, that was I guess it was technically a nasty hit because he injured the guy, but I mean the way the quarterback came down on that elbow, it was probably either his elbow or his shoulder. That did not look to be very good for him. A couple other players that I want to highlight that I just remember and I took notes about. There was at least one play. I mean, number one, Kendall Daniels out there just looks big, and he did look like he moved pretty well. There was that play on 3rd down where he snuffed out I think it's either a screen pass or it was a short pass, and it had no chance, and Kendall Daniels made a really nice play. I remember thinking that was pretty cool. And then I know Owen Heineke he got a TFL at one point, I think on a 3rd down. I think that might have been after the quarterback had gone out. So that was something that I saw too. And I saw Sammy Omasigo also got a sack, but I don't remember that at all in the game.
That was the one where he the quarterback was flushed from the pocket and he just gave himself up a yard behind the line of scrimmage. I had commented on it and I said,
"Oh, you did comment."
Sammy Omasigo is saying, "Thanks for the sack, brother." And It's hard to complain about the defense when you only give up 151 yards and they were never seriously threatened. But But I mean, everybody watched the game. I'm sure everybody is going to feel some disappointment about the defense for certain reasons. So, I mean, if you want to get more into the negative stuff, should we just stick with the defense for now? Because I do think, and I hate it's always a theme of this podcast. Obviously, the biggest negative is something that I think everyone knows, like what it is, and we can just kind of get to that at the end. But I think on the
dislikes,
dislikes, yeah, let's start with the defense. Start with the defense real quick. And so, the run fits were pretty obviously downright bad at times. To me, that's the only way they probably got gashed probably 5 or 6 times, I would say, on the ground by Illinois State, where there was just like a lot of room for Winder's right to run. And I don't think it had to do with Illinois State like leaning on OU's defensive line and pushing them around. I think they're just guys weren't in the gaps they were supposed to be in, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. I hope that's the case, because that you can correct that. You can correct that with practice and film. If you're just getting pushed around like Auburn pushed around Baylor on Friday night, there's not really anything you can do about it. And so I think that's what kind of made kind of giving me a bad taste in my mouth at times about the defense, just because it's something that they've been really good at. I mean, they've even in 2022, and their defense stunk. I thought their run defense was terrific, like 80% of the time. And so it was just sort of weird seeing it in this game, especially after all we've heard about their defensive front and everything. But still, you look at everything, only 150 some odd yards allowed. We'll see. Hopefully this really was just we had no idea what they were going to throw at us because we've been preparing for other stuff. And if that's the case, that's kind of negative in its own little way, but we can get to that later. So yeah, the run defense, I thought at times left a lot to be desired. And I hope it's not a trend that continues next week against a team that is only going to try to get OU into the wrong gaps. That's like what essentially their entire game plan is going to be, presumably.
Yeah, that's the only thing I had for dislikes on the defense was the run defense. It was poor. I mean, Illinois State averaged 4.5 yards per carry, which, I mean, that's not like amazing or anything, but still that's way too much, and it's especially for a bad FCS team, and way more than Oklahoma has typically been allowing. I mean, like you said, I mean, the run defense has been really good. It was really good last season, and even back in 2022 and 2023, they've done a nice job up front. Wanker's right averaged over 7 yards per carry. Like, I didn't see that coming.
That's big fart noise for me, man. I watched 6 Illinois State games last week, and that guy I didn't see really anything from him in any of those games. He had a long touchdown run against Southeast Missouri in the playoffs last year, but I mean, that guy's basically Sam Franklin. I mean, that guy's like maybe poor man's Sam Franklin. So that was disappointing to see, but also didn't hurt him other than it just kind of put some sloppy stuff on tape, hopefully that they can clean up.
Yeah. I just hope that, I mean, the best way to look at it is just hopefully it doesn't really mean anything for the rest of the season. Maybe that was just a weird one-off. Because, I mean, overall, the rest of the defense was good. I mean, it did what it needed to do and pretty much shut Illinois State down. And I guess if you do want to look at the glass half full, I mean, what do we, you and I, our biggest concern, our biggest worry is the secondary going to be any good? And, I mean, Illinois State, I mean, Rittenhouse, I know he didn't play the entire game, but he's a capable passer at the FCS level. And so, I mean, the passing attack for Illinois State, in theory, is not, like, bad. And, I mean, Illinois State had no chance through the air in that game. And so, great. I mean, it's a great start for the secondary. Typically, we don't think Michigan's supposed to be some sort of high-flying through-the-air team. So,
but I also think you got Bryce Underwood, who is a true freshman. Everybody's still the number 1 quarterback in the country. He's going to have arm talent where he is able to make some of that stuff, and you hope that you can confuse him and that he's not ready for some of the stuff. But it's going to be a bigger challenge next week. Lee, I have one thing I wanted to say here, and this is not necessarily a negative, but I put it like in the bads just because as a guy, like I had really high hopes for Cortland Guillory, and he wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. Like I don't want any of in fact, you could probably even argue that he was average to above average in the game. But from what I saw from him, I didn't come away from the game thinking that second corner position opposite Gentry Williams is not going to be a problem until Eli Bowen comes back. He doesn't. I think actually the big thing. I was a guy who was like, yeah, when I saw him in practice videos and everything, he looked physically ready. when I saw him on TV against other Division I players, he didn't look physically ready to me. I think he's going to get – I think there's a chance that against better, bigger receivers, he's going to really struggle.
I mean, my really one complaint on him was the PI he got called for. It was just as lazy, as bad form, and you got to be better than that. But I want to say a couple plays later, like the next series, he kind of made up for it and made a nice PBU or something, and looked a lot more smooth and technically sound. I mean, I thought size-wise, I thought he looked fine. I think he.
I thought he looked slender. I thought he looked like slender, really skinny. And it may not be a big thing because and that's different. Like Eli Bowen is short, but Eli Bowen is kind of built a little bit. Like he looked like he was thick enough to play at that level, and I don't necessarily felt that way about Cortland. And that's clear. Like Jeremiah Newcomb is, I felt he played quite a bit. He's small. I don't think he's got a ceiling that his size is just not really going to be able to make up for. And I didn't really notice a lot of Davon Jordan, but man, Gentry Williams
was out there.
Good.
He played.
Yeah, I know he played.
The ball really ever went his way, and I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of balls in the air in that game. And I will say, I'm looking at the box score for Michigan's win over New Mexico, which Michigan beat New Mexico 34-17, and perhaps Michigan's offense. I mean, I think we know they brought in a new offensive coordinator. Underwood, 21 of 31 for 251 and a touchdown. So, I mean, they're pretty balanced. They had 251 through the air and 201 on the ground. So Michigan's offense, at least box score watching, I mean, we had the game on kind of on a side screen and couldn't really pay that close attention to it tonight. Saw some plays here and there, but at least based on the box score, maybe Michigan's offense is a lot more dynamic than it was last season. Just like now it looks. I mean, obviously Oklahoma's offense is a lot more dynamic. I mean, both of these offenses, as we've established or we've mentioned before, were two of the worst offenses in all of college football in 2024.
All right, should we do it? Let's get to the kind of the main show here. Bad about the offense, and I want to preface this by saying, like, this is, we're last year's offense, the worst that most people alive following the program have seen in their lifetimes, or maybe not alive, but people I would say a majority of the fan base. I think the majority of the fan base now are the millennials who came of age, in the aughts and those 2000 teams. I'm just everything going on with Javonte Barnes in the running back room and Jade Knott and everything, and I'll kick it over. I'll kick it over to you because we'll talk about the depth chart and what was going on with Jade Knott and everything. But at the first, I got it because you know what? They put him at the top of the depth chart and they started him and they ran him out there exclusively for the first 3 series of the game. Javonte Barnes is completely juiceless. He's got zero juice whatsoever. He has looked exactly the same every single time he has ever stepped on the field at Oklahoma. He is incapable of breaking tackles. He has no vision. He's slow. He's like you said, he is a net negative for the team when he is on the field at all times. I don't care how good of a pass blocker he is. He cannot run the football well, which is what you want a running back to do. And I am genuinely sick of seeing him play.
I was commenting to you before the game even started that we had last year was, and this is, I mean, we're taking shots, but last year was nice because we had finally, after years and years of Marcus Major, we finally did not have to watch Marcus Major play in an OU uniform last season. But then we're hanging on to Javonte Barnes, and this was before the game. And again, last episode I said I really hope that the light came on for Barnes against Ole Miss and against Maine last season, and somehow that can continue into 2025 now that he's healthy. And now it's PTSD. Now we're back to another situation where we just can't get rid of another guy that I'm with you. I cannot stand watching this guy play. And I mean, everyone loves him. He's a great team guy. All the qualifiers. We're talking about performance on the field. So back to what you said, though. Yeah, surprise, surprise. I mean, the depth chart, it was accurate. I mean, it was Barnes and Blaylock for the most part. And, I mean, look at the numbers. He was awful. Javonte Barnes was awful. He had 7 carries for 9 yards. I mean, he is a black hole out there. And things did start to pick up a lot more. There's a lot more flow when Torrey Blaylock started getting more run. I don't know what's going on with I don't understand. And that's, well, I'll save it for more of the negative because I'll go back to Javonte Barnes. It's just, I don't know how much we got to see. It's just, I'm so tired of it. Here's my thing on Javonte Barnes. Here's what I hope. Here's best case scenario. Well, best case scenario is that this was a bad game, and he really is as good as he looked at the end of last season, and Oklahoma's depth chart at running back is pretty good. I don't know if that's going to be the case after we saw this today. I mean, it's Illinois State. They're not very good. So a more realistic hope is that, hey, we all saw Lee Corso get the send-off today, and he came back for one college game day, and they put the hat on, and everyone gave him his flowers, and now we're not going to see any more Lee Corso the rest of the season. Maybe this was the Javonte Barnes Lee Corso moment for the 2020 for his career at Oklahoma. Maybe, hey, let's give him some first team rep carries against Illinois State, and give him that shot. But then really let's just kind of have him go off into the sunset the rest of the year. Maybe that's what this was tonight, because he was not very good. And to be fair to him, and I'll just skip ahead to one, just to be fair to Javonte Barnes and not pile on him. I mean, another guy was also not very effective either, and that's Xavier Robinson when he finally kind of came in. Xavier Robinson wasn't effective either. His numbers were almost exactly the same as Javonte Barnes. So it wasn't just Javonte tonight. Xavier Robinson also had some issues as well. So I wanted to take the heat off of Javonte real quick and say, hey, it wasn't just him. There was another guy that really has struggled with the ball too.
And that's okay. And the offensive line was not good. They were fine in pass pro. I thought there was only maybe 1 or 2 times where I thought there was a bit of a breakdown in pass pro. But yeah, there was not really any push in the run game. But also when Blaylock was in there, it kind of seemed like they were getting a push. And so how much of that is because they're blocking for him, or how much is just because Blaylock is doing what he's supposed to be doing and he's able to hit it a lot better? All you got to do is just look at the very first carry of the games for Javonte Barnes, where the edge was not sealed, but he had space to get to the corner. And, and we've watched Javonte Barnes for 3.5 years now. We all know he ain't going to make the corner. And even if he does kind of turn the corner and beat the guy there, as long as the guy gets one finger on him, he's going to go down. There is no, and so I think it was his very first carry. I think that was the first carry of the game.
Yeah.
Where they get, and there's just nothing there. And I'm tired of this experiment with Javonte. I'm tired of it. I don't want to be the guy who comes on here and is just and is so just like tractor beam on one thing. But to me, it's the story of the game again. And because I know it's one game. I know that, but it's all we have so far this year to judge it on. So taking on one game, and we can use history as a barometer. It's fair in this situation because it's the same running back coach, same guy managing that room. Taking this game and then the history as a barometer, how can you not say that the running back rotation is very much going to be a large problem again this year? How can you not say that?
Based off one game, it certainly looks to be. I mean, and back to that first carry, and I wish I could watch it again, but I remember when they showed the end zone, the tight copy replay, it looked like if he would have ran toward the play was designed to go, which was just inside zone, it looked like it was pretty well blocked, and he had a hole to run through, but he bounces outside like he was a true freshman running back who's just used to bouncing it outside and using his speed and running by everybody. It's like, dude, you've been in college for, this is what, year 4 for him? 2, 3, 4, yeah. I mean, and you don't have the patience to follow your blocks and understand. And this is the guy that we're all like. Brent Venables, I believe, said he had a great camp, great fall camp. It's like I'm so tired of hearing this stuff. This is why whenever you hear this stuff, I don't and I'm not saying. I mean, people listen to this show probably are more along with us. But if you're somebody that's like taking gospel from like, oh man, I'm hearing Javonte Barnes is having a great. It's like we've seen him play. This is what he looked like, Grant, after having one of the best camps he's had, or if not the best camp he's had at OU tonight. And
I think they're not, especially at the running back position. And this is the 3rd season now, and it's one game this season. This is now the 3rd season where like a share of the season it's been a problem. They're just not playing the best player at that position, period. And or the best players, plural. and that's got to change, man. And that's maybe we can go into this next stuff about the depth chart and everything, because we said on Wednesday, like, yeah, let's see what happens. Let's kind of. You're right. The depth chart was totally accurate. I mean, that's exactly how it played out. And I think we got to talk about the Jaden Ott stuff, because I think all of us, like, we raised our eyebrows when he saw that he was alone in third on the depth chart when it came out earlier this week. And then, but geez, he's alone by himself at kick return too. And what do you know? We see him out there for the very first kick return of the game. And then it's just Javonte Barnes. And we're wondering, because they didn't, there's no other kickoffs the rest of the game except on one other occasion. And we're thinking, I guess we're just not going to see Jaden Ott. Maybe they really are just saving him for Michigan or whatever. And then we just see him for 3 plays in the fourth quarter when the game's over. I mean, it was 28-3 when we first saw him. Game's over. Nothing there can happen. Like, anything that can happen there is essentially meaningless. And I don't know, you give him the ball on a slow developing play in the backfield that's not blocked well. There's a free runner into the backfield coming to tackle him. He doesn't get the ball in the second play, and then there's a ball that's inaccurately thrown to him in the flat on his third one, and then he's done. He's out. We don't see him again the rest of the game. So, like, they're jerking him around, and I don't know why.
So that's the thing, is he I'll kind of repeat some of this stuff, but we don't see him for the entire first half. Well, taking snaps. We did see him on the opening kickoff, as you mentioned. He was back there along with whoever.
Satania.
I think it's Bowen.
Oh, it's Peyton Bowen. Yeah, Peyton Bowen.
Yeah, so he was back there standing with Bowen. So if the ball would have been kicked to Ott, he would have been able to catch it and return it. So that tells me that, okay, well, he's healthy enough to potentially catch a kickoff and return it with all those bodies coming at him. Okay, so I don't think he has any sort of health problems right now, because if so, why on earth would he be back potentially returning a kickoff? That's number one. So we don't see him through the first half. And then Mateer throws that pick. Field goal is kicked by Illinois State. They bring the kickoff return team back out there for only the second time. And sure enough, Jaden Ott back there again with Peyton Bowen. It's like, wait, so he's still kind of there. And then it gets to that point, like you brought up. I mean, we're at OU's 9th series of the game. We're 11 minutes to go, fourth quarter, up 28-3 as you said, and that's when he trots out there for the first time to take snaps. It doesn't. I don't understand the consistency, and because it doesn't make any sense to me. Because if he's healthy enough to be back there to potentially return a kick, why put him out there so late? So here you go. So let's go through some possible scenarios, because we did go through, and we were hoping to get some clarity in post-game press conferences, but now I got to find. I think George from Sooner Scoop was the only person I saw that tweeted out Ben Arbuckle's comments about Jaden Ott. So this is from George Stoy's Twitter, at George Stoy. So thank you, George, for all the tweets for postgame. And it just says, Arbuckle on Jaden Ott. Quote, "I'm not worried about Jaden Ott. He's going to be a big part of this offense. He's a smart kid. He works hard, and he'll be ready." End quote. I really wish I knew what the question was to Ben Arbuckle about Jaden Ott, because the question I would have asked is, why was Jaden Ott back potentially returning kicks, but then not seeing any playing time until the fourth quarter of this game? And honestly, the only answers, at least I'm trying to think, that would be I guess fine in my mind, is like, hey, listen, Jaden Ott's third on the depth chart, so the third guy on the depth chart, he goes out in the fourth quarter, and then he plays. Okay, but if that's the case, the reason why this is a big deal is because everybody knows this was the number one running back in the transfer portal, and they presumably spent a lot of money in NIL and all that fun stuff to get him here. And if you're not gonna play him, and they're just saving him for Michigan, maybe they don't want to put anything on tape, then just don't play him. Don't put him out there. But they do put him out there randomly, like you said, for a few snaps, and it was a really weird position. Like, you give it to him on the first snap. Illinois State sees him out there, so they're going to key on him.
They just sold out. That's all they did, was just sold out on it.
So maybe call something else that's like a play action or a zone read, or pull, like, make it, and he gets gang tackled. And like you said, yeah, and then he gets a chance to catch a pass, but that was one of Mateer's poor throws on the night. And it was over. And it's like what's the point? What are we doing here? It doesn't seem to make any sense at all. And then it makes you wonder, I mean, what is the rotation going to look like next week against Michigan? And, man, Torrey Blaylock's health is, it's really important for that game.
So I don't know. I think we've kind of said all we can say about this because I want to stick with what I said of I'm not making any sort of big picture things until after I watch him play Michigan. So I mean, it's possible that we see Jay Knott next week and he carries it 25 times for like 115 yards and moves the offense and it looks really great.
It's possible.
It's possible. But I don't know yet. And so we'll see. But this was I think the thing that makes this so concerning is that it's very much in line with past issues with the running back room where it just does not make a lick of sense. And it makes you question what is going on because Brent Venables is the guy in charge. And if he doesn't understand that has been a very, very weird position group that has been mismanaged the last 2 seasons, then I can't help you out. I can't. They need much more there. They need a bell cow there, and you don't pay this guy a lot of money. By all reports, has done everything right. Has been a good teammate. Has been like a leader in the weight room. He loses his job because he gets banged up 2.5 weeks into practice. That's not right. That is not right at all. And if I just don't know what they're doing. So what's the innocent explanation of it is that he really is just the third best running back on the roster. That brings up so many implications that I don't even want to discuss right now about how much of a red flag that would be. So it's frustrating, and it's frustrating because it's far it rhymes way too much with DeMarco Murray chicanery that we've seen in 23 and 24. And I'm frustrated that it happened again because it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, do you have any idea how much rhythm is a thing as a running back and being in the offense and being just and he's not going to have that now. He just had 3 plays and all of them were negative.
Yeah, and I love how let's say he is still kind of banged. I'm not even sure. Do we even know what his injury?
It was a shoulder.
Camp was
shoulder. Yeah.
So, okay. Actually, he had a little thing on his arm, kind of like Gentry had that too. So there's some sort of shoulder harness that they're giving these guys, and it just kind of bothers me too because he's just kind of standing around the sidelines all game and kind of just throws them in there cold in the fourth quarter. It's like if the problem is that we all expect this guy to be the bell cow number 1 running back. So it gets to the fourth quarter. What is and you haven't played him yet. What is even the point of putting him in? Like, only bad things can happen at that point. He's cold. Maybe he's not stretched out. Maybe he pulls a muscle. He gets hurt. It's just at that point, why even put him in the game? And that's kind of my problem. If you actually look at him as that number 1 bell cow back, but if that depth chart is the most important thing, then him being third on the depth chart, it's not crazy that he didn't play until the fourth quarter because in other regular situations, whenever there's a third and fourth guy in a depth chart, that guy probably won't play until the second half or late in the second half. But this is not a typical thing. He's supposed to be the number 1 guy on the roster.
And if he is truly the third best back on the team, that room is really bad. It's a bad room. Again, but I don't think it's the case. I think we should follow our eyes and the evidence that we've seen for years now, and we know who the problem is. There's someone there who is on an island of one, who is just doing whatever he wants to do, and there's no one there telling him no. So
let's move the narrative along, and I know a lot of people are going to be saying that the offensive line was poor and didn't do good enough, and needs to be better. And so I'll say this: I don't have strong thoughts on the offensive line.
They sucked in the run game. They sucked.
Here's my thing. Here's my theory, and I'm sticking to my guns. I would like to see how this all plays out if Oklahoma actually starts playing the running backs are supposed to play. Because when Torrey Blaylock was in there, things seemed to move for the most part pretty smoothly. And I thought he was the best looking guy tonight. And so my whole thing is like I think a big reason why the offensive line tends to look poor is that they're playing these really bad backs behind that can't do anything anyways. And so that's a theory I have. I don't know how accurate it is, but I'd love to see what it would look like if get away from playing a back that's not very good and more consistent backs. And like Xavier Robinson struggling tonight, dings my theory. I understand that. But maybe he's having a slow camp. Like there's a reason he was 4th on the depth chart. I sure would like Taylor Tatum to get healthy and get back. I'd like to see him. He's got talent. He's got some speed. They may need him. So, but I don't have a whole lot of strong thoughts on the offensive line.
Other than they were obviously not good. I mean, you can't, an offensive line that plays well in the run game physically overwhelms the people in front of them, and that was not happening in this game. So, they had 3 starters out. The thing on the offensive line that's the most concerning right now is it may be another revolving door of injuries. So, Fasusi, Simmons, and Sexton were all out today. And so those were, Fasusi and Sexton were kind of 1A and 1B at left tackle, and Simmons was your presumed, main guy at right tackle, and neither of those guys played today. So, or any of them played. So I think the biggest concern there is health again. And I mean, now you got, and I hope those 3 guys can play, but now those guys they're being thrown into the fire in their first game of the season against Michigan, against NFL defensive linemen. And so I just want to go back to it. It's decide on your best players, and they needed to play in game 1 against Illinois State because they need the continuity, they need the confidence, they need to be out there. If Jade Knott's going to be a big part of the offense, why on earth wasn't he out there if he's healthy? That's the thing. There's too much evidence that this coaching staff is far too cute with stuff. I'm sick of it. Play your best players. You know who your best players are. The players know who the best players are. Play them. And that's all I got to say about that.
It would seem like that's more the case on defense. They don't really have, but then again, they do play a lot of guys on defense, and I think they're just developing players a lot better on defense. So
I mean, Michael Boganowski started on defense today. Is he? Do we think he's better than Robert Spears Jennings?
Oh, that's
no.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't, but hope he gets better. I mean, they need a lot of depth back there.
So. I don't like this messaging stuff. Play your best players. That's how you're going to gain the respect of your players, by winning games and playing your best players.
That's the last thing on the the last thing I have on the dislikes, and I thought of this. I dislike they didn't cover the spread. I can't. I mean, it was 35 and a half. They couldn't cover against Illinois State. Glad I didn't bet on that one. That's poor.
They're also 4 of 10 on 3rd down, and they turned it over twice. It's bad, not good. But also, way better performance than a season ago against Temple. Probably
way better
Illinois State.
and
Illinois State probably a better defense than Temple was last year. Probably.
All right, 3-word reviews, and we asked you all for them, and it's been a couple hours since the game ended, so some of these may come in later, but the ones I have, and we'll start with the West of Everest Facebook page because we appreciate you guys going to the Facebook page and liking the Facebook page and then commenting. And by the way, I mean, I suppose now I'll just throw it in there. I mean, we're on YouTube, so we'll ask you to also subscribe to the YouTube page. I believe we have already, last time I checked, about 22 subscribers. That's pretty cool. So if you're somebody that would like to watch on YouTube, please go subscribe. That would help out the show. See how many people get out there to subscribe. All right, let's go to West Everest Facebook page. I asked for your 3-word reviews, and longtime listener Ben says, we're just going to go off the top rope right off the bat. I love it. Ben always has some good ones. He's a lot more pessimistic typically, but that doesn't mean that's unreasonable. Ben says, pay Kenny Dillingham. Right off the top. I love me some Kenny Dillingham, man. I think he's great. But I didn't know he's an Arizona State alum. And he may just be one of those guys that who knows? Who knows if even like a big boy came to pay him a lot of money. He might be trying to build a program there in Tempe. But we're not going to get there yet. Oklahoma's 1-0. Michael says offensive line concerning. Shane says can't. I don't know. I'm not sure if Shane saw the game. He says can't review what I didn't see. Oh, maybe Shane doesn't have the ESPN Plus or SEC Plus network thing, so doesn't have one. Well, Shane, listen to the podcast. We'll tell you what happened. Jesse says, will be interesting. Clean it up. And then Jesse has a comment. He says, I think this year will be interesting. Need to clean up the running game a bit, but it shows potential. Alan says, concerning running game. How about this? Matt's a little more pessimistic. He says, par for course. Matt adds, big preseason hype followed by mediocre results year after year. We can't run the ball on Illinois State, even though we have the, quote, best offensive line coach in the country. As of now, OU definitely not a playoff team. And we'll end the Facebook 3-word reviews with a little bit of positivity from Hunter. He says, I saw enough to relax. And he'll have his 3-word review at the end here. But Hunter says, a little messy on offense, but there's some good things against a team better than what we saw last year. Not perfect, but it looked better. Just some things to clean up. And so Hunter's 3-word review is simply looking for consistency. Go over to Twitter X, at Lee Benson tweets. Longtime listener Josh is back. Josh, welcome to another season of West of Everest. He says, run game week, game one jitters, and I'm still confident. Brett says, still can't run. And Matthew, I think Matthew had some on the Facebook page, has some on Twitter potentially too. He says, couldn't cover spread. So Matthew's right there with it. Running game bad. Anyone but Barnes. And D-line not good. Yeah, I mean, the best D-line in the country potentially. I mean, the way that Illinois State was able to run the ball on them for a decent part of the game was definitely not fun to watch. Oh, man. Let's see. That's about it. Jeff has one. He says he cheats a little bit. This is a 4-word review, but he says tight ends exceeded expectations. Really, I mean, Jaron Cannon. I think Carson Kent had a catch, and so did Huggan. I think all three of them had catches.
So what, 7 catches from the tight end room. That's pretty. I'll take that. Yeah, it was a overall, right? I mean, it was a meh performance. It's like I said, nowhere near as alarming as the game last year against Temple was.
No,
but
not at all.
But a little too much that reminded you that it kind of looks like a Brent Venables coach team that we've seen the last 3 seasons and change, which is concerning. But they're allowed to get better, and I hope they do.
And the way some of the things went today in college football, I mean, maybe Alabama's not going to be as good as we think they are. Although I do think Florida State's probably a lot better than last year. That's a tough place to play today. But I know Florida State was bad a season ago. I actually haven't checked. How's that
LSU
game?
LSU won 17-10.
17-10. So I mean, LSU maybe they figured out defense, man. They could be. I know LSU was a lot of people picked them to win the SEC, but I mean, Texas, Ohio State. I mean, both those teams are probably really good. I mean, but they playing each other today. I mean, both of those quarterbacks looked overmatched.
They're probably both really good. Neither of those teams are nowhere near as good based off one game so far. Nowhere near as good as they were last year.
But
they don't have as much juice.
You said a few times on this show they're allowed to get better.
They are allowed to get better, and those two teams have much more of a pedigree the last handful of years of getting better as the season goes on. So, we'll see. It's 1 week. And like I said, that Michigan game on the schedule is really convenient because we're going to learn a whole heck of a lot about not only just this team but the trajectory of the program. I really think that it's a. If it's a game that if they end up like losing next week, I think we all kind of know what it's going to look like if they lose. So I hope that's not the case, and I hope they surprise us, and I hope they can. The one like the pass game is one thing that gets me excited that they can move the ball against those guys, and I just after what I just saw from the running game, if it's going to be Javonte Barnes and everything, I throw it 60 times. It needs to be a Mike Leach Texas Tech like offense. Seriously.
All right. Well, one last thing before we go, I do want to give a shout out to one of my good friends, Irie, for getting us some really good tickets to the Gophers game on Thursday night. Saw the Gophers in Buffalo. I got some excellent seats, great atmosphere. there at Huntington Bank Stadium on Thursday night in Minneapolis. That was really, really cool. I mean, when that stadium's packed and beautiful time of the year, beautiful weather, and kind of that setting down there, it's neat. And it is, man, the tailgate setup in Minneapolis for the Minnesota Golden Gophers is really good. It's really nice. And I suppose we weren't there today in Norman. I don't know. Maybe we'll get good reviews on how the North Oval was. Maybe it's cool. I'm really hope that I can be around next week ahead of the Michigan game. I don't know if I'll be going to the game. I'm sure tickets will be obviously very expensive if there are any available. But I do plan, if I can make it, to be around for the festivities. So very much looking forward to seeing what it's like around Norman here for year 4 of Brent Venables, and see if the tailgating scene feels any different or any better. Guess we'll find out.
We'll find out.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate it. Oklahoma has a lot to work on, but I think the main takeaway is that, yes, it's not the same message that you and I had coming out of week 1 of 2024, where it was like, push the freaking panic button, man. This is
Even last year at this time, I gave them a little bit of leeway and said, get better against Houston. Go out and play against a bad Houston team and get better. They're allowed to get better over 1 week, and they can. I will give them that grace. But if they come out and they don't look good, then it's going to be pretty hard in my mind to stop that tide. I think so. So we'll see. But I hope. But we might as well be positive about it. It's going to be cool. I mean, college game day is coming. The night game. It's going to be fun. They have a quarterback and some receivers who can complete forward passes down the field. So it gives them that gives you a chance in every single game. So thank God we have that this year. We did not have it last year.
So OU wins 35-3 to kick off the 2025 season. OU's 1-0, and once again they play number 14 Michigan next week. Grant and I will be back. We're scheduled to be back in the middle of this upcoming week to preview OU Michigan. So until then, for Grant, I am Lee. This is West of Everest. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the show. And if you want to help us spread the word, please leave us a 5-star review. And also, tell all of your friends who are OU fans about West of Everest. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud.